I was reading it at a cafe and I had to go home because I was laughing so hard. If I spoil it, all is lost. I haven't even told you what it's about. Hello. Hi, my name's Carrie. Welcome to my channel. These videos, I know that I've only made one ever before because this is only my second year on BookTube, but these videos stress me out so much. I hate picking superlatives. I hate ranking things. I'm very bad at it. It stresses me out. So, big disclaimer. I hope this will be my only disclaimer in the video. I'm trying to get better at this. These are my opinions for December 17th, 12:50 p.m. Korean Standard Time. They will change. Probably while I am editing this video, I'm gonna think, why didn't I talk about this book? Why the hell did I mention this book? I'm learning to let go of that. But before we jump in, just because I give you like a weather report for some reason every time I make a video, it is freezing today. So I will be making multiple tea pauses. I am wrapped in a blanket. It is chilly. Happy winter, happy summer to my Southern Hemisphere friends. How should I start? My issue with this list is that last year was kind of the year that I really bounced back into reading, and so I just had so many books to read, so many things to catch up on. Things were all shiny and new, and so I just felt so invigorated. And this year was much more of like finishing up series. I feel like a lot of series that I started in 2020 have gotten either a continuation or a finale. So it didn't feel shiny and new. It felt exciting in a different way. Some of these are, I'm not, blah, blah. Enough disclaimers. I'm just gonna dive into it, and I have no script for this today. I am really like unhinged. I got my booster shot. I'm supposed to start packing so that I can go home, and going home and traveling right now, as you guys know, is really stressful. So I am just like, I'm in another realm right now, and I apologize, but here we go. I'm gonna start off with one that I just talked to you guys about, if you do watch my channel, and that is If I Had Your Face. If you guys don't know, I do live in Seoul, and this book actually takes place in my neighborhood. Like, they start name dropping places that are on my block, which was strange to read about. It is about kind of contemporary Korean culture, this kind of part of society that deals with nightlife and kind of like the underbelly of society, I guess you would say. It talks a lot about like room salons and sex workers and the entertainment business and kind of like the seedy side of business and stuff like that. And it just follows 5 different women's lives. It's so, I keep saying this, but like it is so unnervingly accurate. The portrayal of these, like that particular age and that particular part of society, uncanny how realistic it is. And that's something that I feel like never really gets talked about when you see, like, even in Korean dramas, I think it's still a little taboo, or it's kind of romanticized. And obviously, like with K-pop or anything like that, it's never really touched on because that's supposed to be like the upper echelon of society, even though that runs completely together with this kind of part of society. So I just really think if you are interested in learning about Korean culture, it's something that when you are physically here, you can't help but see. It's an image of Korea that really doesn't get shown, and the writing was really engaging. I don't want to say it didn't feel like I was reading a book, but like it didn't feel like I was reading a work of fiction for sure. It just felt like I was kind of a fly on the wall watching these girls go through life. I don't know, it was just, I thought, really wonderful. If I Had Your Face. Okay, next up is a book that is so freaking difficult to talk about because if I spoil it, all is lost. I want to talk about The Binding, and this was recommended to me by literary Perry on Instagram, and she framed it as, I went into it knowing nothing. It started off as something, it changed into something else, and I was blown away. And that is word for word what I want to tell you. I also went into it knowing nothing, and it starts off with this kind of old-timey feel. We meet our main boy who is recovering from some kind of sickness, and we learn about it very slowly, but basically like nobody knows what caused it, nobody knows what it was, nobody knows why it went away. He's no longer able to work on the farm with his father, so like what is he gonna do in his life? His family, like his mother and father and his little sister, are very cagey around him because whatever the illness was, he apparently got quite violent, like they had to tie him to the bed. And some more details keep coming up about there's some kind of magic in this world. The main gist of it is that books are bad. Books are bad. This is still not a spoiler, but I'm coming close. He one day gets told that he has been requested to come to a different part of town and work as a bookbinder's apprentice. And that seems really weird because books are bad, and his dad was very firmly like, do not touch books. But now his parents are like, listen, you can't run the farm anymore. This is your only option. Go to the bookbinder. And they basically send him away. Like, he fights it, but they force him there. And so the first half, or at least a third of the book, is him in this apprenticeship and learning the tricks of the trade. And it's very like, how would I even describe it? It feels kind of like an old fairy tale. It was very slow, but very atmospheric. And then something happens and it becomes a completely different book, and it actually becomes, well, nope, I'm not even gonna go there. Is there romance? Yes, that's all I can say. But it becomes just heart-wrenching and beautiful, and I absolutely loved it. It became really fast-paced, and I can't give you any more, but it was just really, I thought, really beautiful. I loved how the first half and the second half were so different, but I loved both styles. I believe this is her debut novel. It was great. It was great. I so desperately want to tell you more. I think that it was also just a case of how I read it. Like, the fact that I knew nothing about it was a huge element in me loving the book. So I don't want to tell you anymore. But The Binding took me by complete surprise, and thank you, Perry. Love your recommendations. The Binding. Please read it. Okay, next up is actually, I'm cheating. It's actually 3 books. And I can't believe that I only read this in 2021. I feel like I read this last year, but okay. I am talking about the Gilded Wolves series, and I know that I promised you guys a dedicated video about this series because I have a lot of thoughts. I didn't do it. I lied. I'm gonna try and give a few of my thoughts here. We're not gonna do any spoilers, don't worry. Yeah, let's talk about it. So the Gilded Wolves, I actually had to read the first one twice. As you guys know, I get most of my books from the library. I use Libby and Overdrive. I use the virtual library. I read ebooks. So I got Gilded Wolves from the library. I read, I'm gonna say, a couple chapters, and one of those things, life got in the way. It didn't pull me in strongly enough that I was gonna drop everything and read this. So for whatever reason, I didn't finish it on the first read, and I wasn't in like a huge push to read it again. And then the sequel came out, and I heard people really chattering about it. People I trust. I'm gonna give this another try. I think I was in a little bit of a reading slump, and so I read Gilded Wolves, and then I think I read the sequel directly after that, Silvered Serpents. And then at the end of this year, I think it was like September, the finale of the trilogy, Bronze Beasts, came out. So I have finished this trilogy, and I just give that disclaimer because I feel like I've heard a lot of people have a little bumpy time getting into the world, but the payoff is there. I actually really preferred the second book the most, but let me just kind of explain the world. So this is a young adult fantasy, and it takes place, the first one takes place in Paris in the turn of the century, like the late 1800s, which I think is a wonderful setting. And this world has a particular kind of magic. It's called forging, and you either have, I think it's like a mental forging or a material forging. And so there are some people who like work really well with plants. That's a material. One of the characters is basically like the landscaper. And so he does these just magnificent, magical landscapes in everybody's garden. And then there are like mental forging, which is people can like make you see things that you didn't like aren't actually happening and stuff like that, make illusions and things like that. And it's all, this is what's strange to me, it's all kind of based off of the Tower of Babel myth, which is like these people started to build a tower or like a town to get closer and closer to God because they basically wanted to be godlike, and God was like, hell no, and knocked the tower down. And so their magic kind of comes from these leftover pieces of the tower. It wasn't a clear cut, just like they can do magic. It was like they can do magic, and there's like this weird backstory that all relates to the Tower of Babel, and there's all these different houses all over the world, and there's blah, 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 blah. And so the actual story that we go on is a little bit more of a heist. It's often, because it's a heist and because it's kind of like a found family, it's often compared to Six of Crows, but I would say it is nothing like Six of Crows. But if we were to call him our Casbrecker, our like main ringleader guy, his house, they basically refused to recognize him as the heir to his house. So they just like got rid of his house, and he's pissed, and he thinks that if he can find a certain treasure, let's say, then he can get his house back and he can become an heir and he can have like a seat at the table, basically, is what he wants. And in that way, he will be able to provide protection and provide like all these things for his found family, his friends. Everything he does is really to like protect the people that he loves, which I think, even though he goes about it the wrong way sometimes, I think is very lovely. And also, I talked about this before, but unlike Six of Crows, where each individual character is very cagey, and like even at the end of Crooked Kingdom, we don't really know, like they don't know a whole lot about each other, like their personal life stories. They're still very closed off, even though they love each other so much. Throughout the Gilded Wolves trilogy, they're cagey, but like they love each other on such a deeper level. Like they actually know details of each other's lives in a much deeper way. So it just makes the friendship even more gut-wrenching and lovely and wholesome. Like if you loved the Six, I do. I love every character in Six of Crows. If you love their relationships, you will love the Gilded Wolves relationships because they're just like even deeper. There is romance, there is history. The second book takes place in Siberia and a little bit of, I think, St. Petersburg. The next book takes place in Venice. I have a major bone to pick with the ending, but I'm not gonna let that ruin the reading experience. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it took me a while to get into, but just the visuals, I just think that she represented so many different kinds of people and took everyone's strengths and weaknesses and made them feel really real. I don't know how to explain it, but I really enjoyed the Gilded Wolves. I would definitely recommend it if you've tried reading it before and you didn't super love it. Maybe give it another try. I had to. I really loved the Silvered Serpents. I can't tell you why I liked it more than the Gilded Wolves, but I did. The second one for me is my fave. And yeah, I recommend. Next up is Legendborn. Yes, oh my god. So Legendborn is a book that I knew it was YA fantasy That's it. That's all I knew. That's how I love going into books. If you don't know, like if you ever recommend a book to me, tell me nothing. This isn't a spoiler because it's like looking back at it now, very obvious what it's about, but it involves the Knights of the Round Table. It's all about King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table, and that was my jam when I was a kid. It was like all of that just came flooding back when I started reading this. So Legendborn follows one girl who she is 16, but she's hella smart. And so she got into this program at a university where she is basically studying there. I don't know. It's like she's super smart. Okay, she's with one of her friends. This is like a normal thing, this program. However, this takes place in one of the Carolinas, North or South Carolina, I forget. And so there is a lot of tying back to talking about like this land used to be plantations. Like this is where enslaved people worked and died, like on this soil. And I'm pretty sure that one of the statues on campus is like a Confederate soldier or something like that. Like it's just, as a young Black woman, she's living in a society that is just not great for her. She doesn't feel comfortable. And also her mother just died. So she's dealing with grief. She's dealing with can you hear the wind? Oh my God, these poor people walking outside. Okay, I'm gonna still try to talk. But where was I? So I haven't read this book in a while. I only read it once, and I think I read it over summer maybe. But I just remember it tackling these really heavy things of grief and racism and history in a really good way. It just felt really realistic. And I think I talked about it in my review when I first read it, but like there were these tiny details in there about our main girl I never see in young adult fantasy. There was a point where she was thinking about showering and she had to like consider her hair because she has natural hair. She can't just like pop out of the like get it wet, pop out of the shower and go run to class. And I feel like as someone who does not have that kind of hair, and I've never lived with anyone who has, like that's something I just don't really know about. It was just such an interesting detail that made, I don't know, like it taught me something, and also like it just made her seem like a whole human. I don't know, like I just thought that there was so much in it that was new to me as a reader of young adult fantasy, and I just really appreciated it. So I haven't even told you what it's about. So because she goes to this college, she starts to like see shit. And this kind of happened around the time of her mother's death. She's been kind of seeing these visions, and turns out they're like demons that she's seeing. And she ends up getting accidentally wrapped up in this kind of demon hunting society that is somehow connected to King Arthur, and everybody is Welsh, and it's really weird. I just thought it was great. There's a little bit of insta love. There's a little bit of enemies to ? We'll find out in the sequel. There was just so many things that I liked, and again, I think that a major part of it was just that it took me completely by surprise. I had no idea what I was going into, but overall, I just absolutely cannot wait for the sequel. I don't think that there is a date yet, but we do have a title, which I will put here because I don't remember it. But I am so excited. Unexpected fave. Next up is kind of a tie, so I'm going to kind of talk about both because I read them at the same time, pretty much, one after the other, and I'm very new to the genre, so I don't know if these books, I feel like they're kind of everybody's favorites because I've heard so many people say that they're good, but I don't know if it's just that I'm brand new to the genre, and so I'm like taken by them, or if they're actually really good books. I feel like they might be actually really good books. So I'm talking about The Love Hypothesis and Red, White, and Royal Blue. I read The Love Hypothesis basically because I didn't have any books around and I got it in Book of the Month, and I was just like, well, I have it here. Probably like I'm just gonna read this because I'm not gonna be interested in it and I'll just pass the time. I read it in one sitting. I loved it. it felt like I was watching a rom-com, like a classic 90s cringy but cute rom-com. It started off as a fan fiction with Kylo Ren and Rey. Is that their names? From the new Star Wars series. It has nothing to do with Star Wars. It literally takes place at Stanford. It is about a PhD candidate, Olive, and then a professor, I believe his name is Adam. Olive has an issue where she was casually dating a guy, took him to a party, turns out him and her best friend are like soulmates, and she really wants her best friend to date this guy, but her best friend is like, no, girl code, I'm not gonna date your boyfriend, that's weird. And so Olive decides that she is going to start dating someone else to convince her best friend that she's fully over this guy and she can go, like, please go be together. So it's a fake dating situation where she accidentally gets roped into a little relationship with this guy, Adam. Yeah, it was just like cringy but funny. So obviously not real life, but hilarious. Just a good time. Like I said, I read it in one sitting. Really good time. Laugh out loud funny. Just great. Banter, great. Everything. I loved it. And so after that, when I was kind of like, hey guys, I read a romance and I liked it. You guys came at me to read Red, White, and Royal Blue. And I had seen everybody and their mother talking about it, so I figured, sure, I'll do it. And yeah, it was also really cute. That also felt really like a rom-com, maybe more like a 2000s rom-com, because there was a little more like political and social justice stuff thrown in. But this is about a boy who happens to be the son of the President of the United States. He's always compared to the Prince of England because they're both young, hot guys. So like all the teen mags are putting them together as like, who's hotter, and like blah blah blah. So they're always like enemies that never really meet that often, you know, and they don't particularly like each other. There is a little bit of an incident. Seems like they're in a fight. So in order to keep the US and the UK looking like allies, they need to like fake being friends to like let the tabloids take pictures of them having fun together and to stop all of the stories of saying like they hate each other. So it's not fake dating, it's like fake friendship. And it was really nice, guys. I think some people said that the romance might have started a little too quickly. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think that it was a very convenient ending. Like I'm not sure that what happened would have happened in 2021. Maybe in like 2000 and hopefully by 2030. Overall, I did think it was worth the hype. I really enjoyed it. It was just cozy and I cried a little bit. I laughed a lot. Oh my god, their banter was so funny. There were certain scenes where I was reading it at a cafe and I had to go home because I was laughing so hard. Yeah, just if you need to feel every kind of emotion, please read Red, White, and Royal Blue. I really liked it. It was fun. I felt like I didn't want to put it on my favorites because I felt like it was a book that everybody has already talked about. But you know what? I liked it. And it gave me like happy feels for the entire month that I read it in. Like I was on a high. So that's Red, White, and Royal Blue for you. There you go. Almost done, I promise. Next up is a duology, Fable and Namesake, and then you can kind of add a little asterisk and put The Last Legacy, but I didn't. The Last Legacy is not on my favorites, I just want to say. No shade, but just not on their level. Fable is about a girl named Fable, and she, when we meet her, has been living on this not deserted island, but like an island that basically only exists to dredge gemstones, and she was abandoned there like a couple years ago maybe, and so we soon learned that all she cares about in life is saving up enough money so that she can buy her way onto a ship to get to kind of the main island, and she is going to find the person who abandoned her here and just ask why and then go on with her life. We end up going on this kind of adventure with her. There is the teeniest, tiniest bit of magic. It gave me such, not like Pirates of the Caribbean feels, but just like, they weren't pirates, but it had that great like ocean adventure feeling. I thought that the imagery was wonderful. I love Adrienne Young's choice of names. I don't know why, but she picks the best names. And then namesake, I would argue, is even better because fable was kind of like unraveling this story, like just trying to figure out like what is fable's deal. And then by the end of fable, it's like there's another crisis point, and namesake is when we really have this like big adventure story. So I just really loved how she paced it. I thought that fable gave us the amount of time to really get to know some of the characters, so that then when we jumped into namesake and it was like go 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 go, I don't know, we had like all that backstory there. And then also with namesake, within the duology there is a romance, but what I really liked is that that's not a main part at all. I don't think it's kind of like it's one of the reasons why she does a lot of the things that she does, but like the story is 100% about fable getting shit done and like being a badass and stuff, which I really liked. I think a lot of times once a romance starts, that romance kind of becomes the center and like kind of becomes what fuels her, especially the female character's character arc sort of. But Fable was power in herself. Fable was in charge of the story and I really loved it. And it was just, it had this imagery that I've always loved as a child. I always really loved like pirate stories. So yeah, it was definitely young adult, but I loved it. Fable and namesake. Oh my god, last one because I cannot speak. This was a trilogy? Was it a trilogy? And I love them. I devoured them. Like, I think I finished the series. I think it was a trilogy. I think I finished it in like 3.5 days. I really love this. This was recommended to me by Christy Ann Jones. If you don't follow her on YouTube, you should. She is wonderful, talented, charming, Australian. Great. And this is the daughter of Smoke and Bone. And I don't remember the titles of the other two. And this is a young adult fantasy, and it follows this girl who is totally normal except for the fact that I believe she's heavily tattooed, and she also has naturally blue hair. She goes to art school in Prague. Her life is totally normal except that every once in a while she gets a call to come back home to help her dad with a few things, or her guardian. And her guardian slash father figure is Brimstone, this kind of like demon creature, and so he will like send her to go between realms and collect bones or something. Oh, my battery's dying. Hold on, guys. So she has to go collect, I don't know if it's dead bodies or something, but it's like not typical art student daily activities. And she talks about how she is very, very scared. Her one biggest fear is that one day the door to her kind of home is locked because he lives in another realm. So like the only way to go back home is to go through these doors. And wouldn't you know it, one day the door doesn't open. There's kind of this whole battle between like demons and angels. I don't know why I really loved it. I just had a really good time. It's by the same author as Strange the Dreamer, and I haven't read that yet. I'm so sorry. It had all the elements of things that I love in a young adult fantasy, and I think that honestly the characters that I love the most ended up being the side characters, like the best friend. Yeah, I feel like I need to reread it because I don't remember a whole lot once stuff starts to happen, but yeah, I just really I really liked it. I wish I could say more, but that was, I think I read that pretty early in the year. But yeah, if you like kind of angels versus demons, it didn't really have a Shadowhunters feel, but like it felt kind of that vein. Yeah, I had a really good time, and it was definitely like heavy on the fantasy. I think that like with the binding or with fable. It wasn't over the top fantasy, but this is like heavy on the fantasy. So if you like magic and stuff like that, and like supernatural beings and stuff, dig in. It was fun. It was a good time. So that is Daughter of Smoke and Bone. And I also want to give a shout out to two of my favorite, not favorite books, which is The Shadows Between Us and These Hollow Vows. If you haven't watched my videos on them, please do. I had so much fun reading them. They were so bad. I just had a really great time. So if you want like a guilty pleasure book that just like makes no sense and is like fun to read and be like, what the hell? Check those out. They like genuinely brought me joy. I had a lot of fun. I feel like there are books that I'm just kind of not remembering well, but like Chain of Iron, I really enjoyed. I just reread Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. Still amazing, still gut-wrenching. They are two short stories about grief and loss, and they're really great. Oh, The Vanishing Half, I think I read that in January. I loved that book. Took me by surprise. It wasn't like my favorite, but it was just an incredibly beautiful book. And yeah, I can't wait to read more. I know that they have a few more books out and I need to get on that. This video is going to be super long, and I know that I'm missing things, and I haven't talked about books that I'm going to be like, damn it, why didn't I talk about those books? But I hope that this gives you, in case you haven't read any of these, something to look forward to for 2022. And yeah, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break for the holidays. I'm going to be going back home to see my family, and it's my birthday on December 31st. So I'm just going to kind of chill, and I don't want to worry about having to film and stuff like that. So I will see you guys next year. Exciting. And yeah, I'm wishing you well. Thank you guys so much. Oh yeah. Oh, I put this here. Thank God. Thank you so much for this year. This year is the year that we hit 100K, and I'm so honored and just so happy to have this community to talk about books with. You guys know that I started this channel last year because I started reading again, and I just couldn't shut up about books, and I wanted to talk to people, and I found you guys, and I'm eternally grateful. Yeah, I will talk to you guys in 2022. Have a wonderful and safe end of the year, and I will see you guys in January. I need to go rest my throat. Have any specific things you want to see us do on this channel in the next year? Video recommendations are always welcome. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. I'm gonna go like make sure all the windows are closed. This wind is insane. And yeah, I love you all. Thank you always. Happy New Year. Bye.